This is a guide for how to play Wizard in Dark and Darker. So I'm going to show you everything you know, builds and stuff like that. So let's get right into this. Let's go over to our class and the perks and skills. So there's perks, skills, spells. It's going to take a little while to get through all this. And there's multiple builds depending on which way you want to play your Wizard. So there's three main ways to play Wizard. There's the solo Wizard, there's the melee Wizard, and then there's the team play Wizard, and there's a bunch of different ways. Wizard really has a lot of different ways that you can go about playing Wizard. Now, depending on your spells, one really good perk is Arcane Mastery because it reduces the casting time of arcane spells by 1 second, and there's a spell that most Wizards are going to end up using that this will be really helpful for. As for other ones, we have Arcane Feedback, which is honestly not that great unless you're just going full-blown magic missiles or something. I'm not a huge fan. Fire Mastery, it makes you have a little bit more burst with the fireball, but it's not necessarily that great. Ice Shield, it goes really good if you're going for a melee Wizard build, which is a thing, just because it makes you tankier, and then also enemies get frostbite whenever they melee attack you back. And then Mana Surge is a decent one if you have an extra one and don't know what to put on, just because it increases damage overall. And then Melt, it's okay. I've never found it to be that helpful, but if you're hitting people with a lot of fireballs with AoE damage, it can definitely help, especially in team play. Quick Chant is huge. This is a really, really good perk to have for pretty much anybody. I mean, it's like a must-have, just because the biggest catch as a Wizard is if you're charging your fireball and they close the gap before you're done, then you're in trouble. So you want to get those spell casts off as quickly as possible. Reactive Shield is good if you're doing the melee build thing I was talking about. Because you can activate a shield for 3 seconds. That will absorb 10 damage. So it's just a good way to take less damage. It's honestly, like, it's okay. It's only 10 damage, but again, if you're melee build, it's that plus the ice shield, you can make yourself a lot tankier. And then Sage, in the current playtest, the first day of the February playtest, not really necessary because they upped the spell capacity or spell memory for Wizards by a lot. So, like, you generally can put everything on that you want. So Sage isn't really good anymore. So really, it's going to come down to, are you going to be a melee Wizard or not? If you're a melee Wizard, get Ice Shield, Reactive Shield, and then it's your choice depending on what spell types you use. If you don't like using arcane spells and things, then you don't get the arcane ones. If you use fire ones, get the fire ones. If you don't use fire ones, then maybe just get Mana Surge and Spellcast Time or something and call it a day. So as for skills, there's two ways to go. Generally, no matter what, you're going to want spell memory as a Wizard, or else just go play a different class. There's no reason not to have your spells as a Wizard of all classes. But that leaves you with one other skill. In the current playtest, there's only meditation and intense focus. Now, most people, like 7 out of 10 times or something, you're going to go with meditation. What this will do is it has like a 40-second cooldown or so, and you can recover some of your spell casts by meditating for 10 seconds. So this is extremely useful if you are playing as a solo Wizard, because as a solo Wizard, you're going to have to clear everything by yourself and still have spells left over to kill people. So that's when this is always good. You can never go wrong with meditation, but there is a time and a place to get intense focus. Two scenarios. The one scenario is your only goal is killing people. And there's a few different ways to go out. You use invisibility, so you never have to use spells, and then bring a campfire or something instead. Because what intense focus will let you do is double cast. So what it does is reduce the cast time of your next spell by 0.1 seconds. So you can take a really long charge up, like the heavy-ass chain lightning, and then cast it, and then use intense focus and just cast another instantly. And if you hit both of them, you can just kill, like, not that you can kill anyone, but with the right gear, you could kill anyone. So there's a time and a place. And one of those, like, is you're playing it by yourself, and you just want to kill some people, just have fun. That's really fun to use then, because it really helps you in a pinch, just melt someone real fast. The other scenario is if you're playing with a team and they're going to take care of clearing all the mobs. And if they clear all the mobs, then you don't necessarily need meditation, and this would help you a lot in the PvP to just double chain lightning an enemy team or something. So those are the scenarios where you might want to consider it. You have to play around with it yourself, though, because not everyone's going to like going that way, and generally the safe bet is meditation, just keep that in mind. All right, so spells. Let's look at the spells now. So different ways that we can build things. Let me pop all these off. So I'm going to go through these. Zap is generally garbage. I mean, if you have a bunch of stuff to increase magic damage, maybe it wouldn't be bad. But in the whole solo thing they added with goblins and stuff, you can use all 6 zaps on a goblin's head and it doesn't kill it. That's how little damage it does, just to give you a reference point for how not great it is. Like, If you have an extra spell slot and you don't have enough memory for anything, you could put it on. But it's generally not that good. Light Orb it throws out light orbs, and then it's like little torches that last for like 30 seconds. Total garbage. Like, there's no reason to use it, basically, in most scenarios. Ignite. Now, this is if you're the melee build. What it'll do is, and in team play. This is also good to have in team play, potentially, if you have a slot for it. So it'll set the target's weapon on fire, making them do 5 extra damage per hit, and burning the enemies in the hit for even more damage. So if you're playing a team, you cast it on your fighter, you cast it on your barbarian, you cast it on your rogue or something right before they start fighting someone, and then they're going to do way more damage. Or if you're a melee wizard, you cast that on yourself by targeting nobody, and then run in with the fire crystal sword or whatever and start swinging at them, or dagger or whatever. So that one's really good if you're going for the melee build. Then for slow, this one, it has a lot of uses in a lot of scenarios. If you're in a team, it's really good because if you can slow an enemy for 2.5 seconds, then your fighter or your barbarian can go and just maul them to death. But even by yourself, if someone's chasing you and you have enough time to cast it, you can cast it on them in order to get some distance from them, and then cast again, and then cast another slow. It has a time and a place. If you like it in your play style, then you definitely should try it out and see if it fits for how you like to play. But definitely there's a lot of nuance to how you could use it, and you could use it. It'd be really good with the melee build, but even without the melee build, it's still really good in certain scenarios. It's just a strong spell if you can find room for it, because there's a lot of good spells to use. Now, Ice Bolt, I tried this a bunch of times, and it just really is not that good. If the projectile is very slow, so anyone that sees it coming can just dodge it, and it doesn't really do that much damage. Like, to kill a goblin, for example, it took like 4 headshots. So I'm guessing for a player, you need like 3 or something if they have no gear, or something like that. But like getting 3 headshots with such a slow projectile, not realistic, especially since it has a multiple second cast time, or like 1 or 2 second cast time. So it's not like arcane missiles, or magic missiles. Now this magic missiles, this is your bread and butter. Whether you're melee or not, if you can make room for magic missiles is an amazing spell to have. And it combos really, really well with any gear that gives you bonus magic damage, because then it's going to make each one of those missiles do extra damage, and you'll do crazy damage and just melt people. So this one is you charge up, and then you cast a volley. You can't move while casting, by the way. If you move, it'll cancel. And then you just fire off 10 homing magic missiles in a row, and they can headshot. And if you hit all headshots, it's going to do like enough damage to kill like 3 skeletons or something. Like, that's how strong it is. If you hit all headshots and you have a little bit of magic damage or something. Like, it's really bread and butter mob clear. If a barbarian runs up on you without a shield and you cast it from far enough away, you can either kill, if you have enough magic damage, bonus magic damage, you can just kill him before he can, beat you down with his axe or whatever, to potentially. It's just a really, really strong DPS spell if you can hit enough of them, especially headshots. Then Haste. This is really good in a team setting, and this is also really good as a melee wizard build, because you can cast Ignite, you can cast Haste, you can chase down, cast Slow, and then pull out your Crystal Fire Sword or whatever and start swinging on them and just beat people down. Haste will let you catch up to pretty much anybody, and in a team fight, you can cast on your melee guys, like your fighter, your barbarian, or your rogue, and then they can just run anybody down and just beat them down and just, melee anyone out. So Haste is a really strong spell. Highly recommend making room for that. The only scenario where you might not is if you're going full spell casting wizard playing solo, like Magic Missile and Fireball and Chain Lightning, Lightning Strike, and then Invis or something, right? Like that, then maybe not. But it's a really good spell. In most builds, you'll want to have Haste available. It's really strong. Okay, so Lightning Strike, don't really recommend it. It's not that great. So you charge up, you put a circle on the ground, and then let go. And then when you let go, about a second later, it casts a lightning strike on that spot. It's pretty hard to actually hit it. I mean, it's not that hard to hit it, but it doesn't do enough damage, really. So as a reference, Goblin Warriors, who don't even have that much health, I think it took 3 of them in order to kill a Goblin Warrior. So, like, it's definitely good in PvP, but the range is very short, so it makes it not as good in PvP. Like, you can't just cast it from really far away. They've got to be, like, I don't know, like 15 meters away or less or something like that. But it definitely could be good for peppering people in PvP. And I don't know. It just depends. If someone's opening it, it's okay. You just have to play it yourself and see if you like it or not. In my opinion, it's like a meh kind of spell, but it's an option and it will do more damage. I mean, not more damage, but, another damaging spell option. Invisibility. This one's like a must-have for most wizards. The only time you might not care about invisibility is if you're playing with a team and they're, you're all working together really well. You don't really need to go invis. And it's fine as a solo wizard or whatever. Even in a team setting, it really helps you just get out of a fight. Someone's chasing you and they're about to catch you. You go invis and just run a random direction. And if they guess wrong, then you break a huge amount of distance. Start casting your next spell. Turn around, start casting. Like, Very helpful spell, and you can cast it onto, allies as well, which would be really helpful. Invisibility is just a really strong one. If you can make room, you'll definitely want to make room in your build for that. Fireball is an amazing spell, and it blows up doors. So Fireball is a spell that most wizards are going to want to have on unless they're going the full melee build. Or if they're going full melee build and have room for one spell, this might be the spell they go for. That or the next one we'll talk about. So it just shoots a fireball, big splash damage. Fireball goes when it makes contact with anything, ground, wall, person, whatever. It explodes and does splash damage. So if you hit it directly, it does, I think it does 30 and the 20 splash if you hit them directly, and it does a knockback. A lot of times what people do is aim for people's feet with this, so they at least get the splash damage. But it's just a nice consistent damage spell that you can do, and if you do hit a direct hit, it'll do a massive amount of damage. If you want a magic damage bonus, it'll do even more damage. So it's a strong spell to have. Very easy to hit, very noob friendly, and even advanced player friendly. Good spell to have. If you're using actual spells, you almost always want to go with that and magic missiles. Those two are like, always want those. Chain lightning. Now this one is good and bad. So what this does, it has an extremely long charge, and then it fires a chain lightning at a target. If it hits them, it'll bounce around to other targets, but it's very hard to actually hit on someone. I mean, unless they change, I'm pretty sure it was actually a projectile. So if they're weaving left and right, even though if you're crosshair on them, it doesn't necessarily hit them. And then if you do hit them, though, it does a crazy amount of damage, and it bounces to team. So in team play, it's amazing. You charge it up. If you hit someone, you can potentially hit all 3 enemy players for like 50 damage or 60 damage or something, depending on your magic damage bonus. But the catch is it uses a lot of spell memory, and it has a huge wind-up and only has 4 casts. But it combos really well with the thing I talked about earlier, the intense focus. If you go intense focus, it's either going to be chain lightning or fireball that you'll want to combo with it. And you just charge up your first chain lightning, use it, and then use intense focus and cast another one instantly. And if you do both on someone, if you have enough magic damage, that'll kill a lot of people. It'll kill them instantly. But you can also do fireball, double fireball like that too. So those are all the spells, and those are scenarios you want to use them. So if you're like melee, you might want to go with slow and ignite and haste, and then invis, and then fireball. If you're going full melee build, you could swap out the slow with a magic missile if you need more mob clear or just need more DPS with magic. And then if you're not going the crazy melee build, then there's a bunch of different ways you can go depending on which way you want to do it. But you'll almost always want fireball. You'll almost always want magic missile. You'll ideally want invis. And then after that, it's up to you which way you want to go on this. You can get more damage again with lightning strike or with ice bolt, or you can go for slow to keep people slowed and have more control and get haste. Or you can get chain lightning for more potential burst, and then get haste so you can run away better, or get that and get slow so you can keep them away better. Or you just go lightning strike and have just pretty much all damaging spells and bank on invis in order to stay alive. I mean, I can't really give you an exact way to build because right now, the way wizards are and the way this game is, there's actually a lot of potential to play whichever way you want to play. So there's like many different avenues you can play depending on which way you want to engage in combat as a wizard. So those are spells. Those are perks and skills, I mean. Hopefully that helps you out. And then as far as gear, it's really nothing too crazy. I mean, like, you can't go wrong with a Regal Gambus and just for armor rating, but I don't know. Wizards already move slow, so if you get too much negative move speed, it'll make you really slow. So you kind of be careful not to get too slow. But then the other thing is just any bonus stats. The main thing you're after is magic damage, true magic damage, bonus magic damage, anything that gives magic damage. That's going to be your go-to stuff that you're going to want. And then the other thing, obviously, is will, because that'll make you do more damage. So will and spell power are the biggest things that you're after when you see any piece of gear with bonus green stuff on it. I mean, agility is not bad either just because it makes you move a little bit faster, but it really doesn't have that big of an effect. It's mainly just will and magic damage, and trying not to lose too much movement speed because you're already not that fast, and you really don't want to get even slower. And resourcefulness wouldn't be bad to get a few points just to get you off the floor so you can open doors a little bit faster and stuff, but really you're not playing into your strengths if you get it. So really, again, it's just will and magic damage gear is really what you want. Now, what about when you actually get into the game? So there's a few different things to know about going. Team play is pretty standard. You're just going to grab whatever spell. You're going to play back, let your team engage, and just do damage from a distance and not really try to engage super hard on the enemies. Depending on how good you get with wizard. If you get really good, you could take point if you really want to, especially as a melee wizard or something crazy. But generally in a team play, you'll just hang back and deal your magic damage from a distance. As a solo, it's mainly about safely clearing mobs and then trying to find a good fight, basically. With mobs, if you need help with mobs, what you can do is wait for them to attack. So trigger an attack by bumping into them and then jump back and then cast. and this will let you get more, let you actually cast without getting hit. Now, magic missiles without the bonus magic damage can be an iffy thing to use because you'll maybe not actually kill them before they get a swing on you, and you really don't want to have to cancel it. Fireball's generally going to be a better clear if, I don't, it really depends. You know, really both are okay, but Fireball's good. You can cast them further away, do a bunch of damage. But when you're mob clearing, you might want if you can get the sword, which you don't start with by default, but if you can get the sword, it's much better for mob clear to just conserve your spells and be able to clear mobs effectively. But if you're playing as a solo wizard, it's really about trying to find the right fight and trying to not get yourself in a really precarious situation. So one really good thing if you've invis, especially as a solo wizard, is you can go up here, for example, and aggro a bunch of things. Hopefully I don't mess this up. So I can get a bunch of things on you, and then you can cast invis, and then it'll de-aggro all of them, and then you can go open a door. But do remember that your door opening speed's insanely slow, so you may still get hit. But you see how that gave me enough distance that I was then able to get to a door and open it. But you gotta be careful again. Like, if you don't have distance, they'll catch up to you then and thwonk you in the back like that. But yeah, so you can do that in order to not have to deal with mobs as much. And that'll let you conserve spells and conserve HP and stuff if you get really good at it. Doing that really depends. Like, you really want to know the map better so you don't walk in spike traps and don't get caught in weird situations with mobs body blocking you and stuff. But yeah, as a solo, invis is going to be your best friend in order to conserve everything and not have to fight as many mobs. But yeah, so then you're just going to look for the right fight. You're going to try to keep some distance and cast fireballs and stuff. And leave your doors open so you can run out and close them behind you and stuff. Like, don't ever just close doors behind you because then you can't escape anywhere. Because door opening speed's so slow as a wizard. But yeah, so it's really, like, it's not that complicated for a wizard, guys. You just try to keep your distance and cast spells. Or you go melee wizard and you cast all your buffs, then run in and start swinging. Which may or may not be a good idea. You better know what you're doing to do that one good. But yeah. That's it for Wizard. I mean, this is the basics, guys. It's everything you need to know as far as I'm aware. The rest is going to be up to you and practicing and deciding what you actually like and just mastering your aim and your, you know, predictions and stuff with your projectile spells and stuff. And that, just keep your distance and fire things at them, and then use slows to get distance, use invis to get distance, and then cast more spells, and just keep fighting like that. That's the playstyle of the Wizard, generally speaking. Now, obviously, you can adapt it some more to whichever way you want, depending on how you like to play Wizard. But this guide will hopefully get you started. Hopefully now you have a much better idea of how to begin as a wizard in Dark and Darker. By the way, if this video helped you out and you want to return the favor, you could go to the Steam page here for Art Gallery Simulator. It's a video game that I'm making. And if you guys would just go here and wishlist this, that would help me a lot. You don't have to actually buy it when it comes out. But if you just want to check it out, it's a game about running an art gallery and then going from the slums to middle class to owning an art museum eventually when I actually launch it later in March or April. So if you want to wishlist that, that would help me a lot. But hopefully this video helped you out. Now you know how to play Wizard in Dark and Darker.